Good morning. I am Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, Director of Music Ministries for the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I want to take a second this morning and tell you the 3 hymns we'll be performing today in the service. So if you have a hymnal at home or 2 hymnals, you need the gray and the teal, you can get those prepared, or you might take a chance and Google lyrics so that you can sing along when the hymns come up. The first is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. The second is in the teal hymnal, 1017, Building a New Way. And the third is 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. With me this morning is special guest star, my husband Charles, and our prelude today is going to be from the musical Rent, and this is called I'll Cover You. Live in my house, I'll be your shelter. Just pay me back with 1,000 kisses. Be my lover, and I'll cover you.
Open your door, I'll be your tenant. Don't got much baggage to lay at your feet, but sweet kisses I've got to spare. I'll be there and I'll cover you.
I think they meant it when they said you can't buy love. Now I know you can rent it. A new lease, you are my love. On life, be my life. Just slip me on, I'll be your blanket. Wherever, whatever, I'll be your coat. You'll be my king, and I'll be your castle.
So you'll be my queen, and I'll be your moat.
I think they meant it when they said you can't buy love. Now I know you can rent it. A new lease, you are my love. On life, oh my life, I long to discover something as true as this is.
So with 1,000 sweet kisses,
Get your coat on, you're lonely.
with 1,000 sweet kisses,
You've got one little lonely. With 1,000 sweet kisses,
when someone else
I'll cover you. With 1,000 sweet kisses,
when you're hot,
I'll cover you. I'll cover you. I'll cover you.
Good morning. Welcome to worship at 1U, the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Dave Shine, a member of the worship team here at 1U, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our service this morning. In the words of Erica Hewitt, all of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. If you are worshiping with us for the first time today, a very special welcome. We are so glad you found us. If you would like more information about our church, you can go to orlandouu.org, or you can email us at welcometeam@orlandouu.org. We'd love to get to know you better and answer any questions you may have. We have a very busy day here at 1U. We have 4 different online events. Our 2 regular weekly events, first, informal fellowship with an opportunity to get together and chat for about 20 minutes in small groups, and our weekly Welcome Center, where if you're new or relatively new, you can learn more about our congregation and our faith. These have separate links and will be provided at the end of our worship service today. We also have 2 very special meetings. One, an update on our sanctuary renovation with an option to provide all-inclusive restrooms, and a meeting of our Wrestling with Our Understanding of Racism group. The links for both of these meetings was provided in the weekly e-blast that you received on Friday. All 4 of these meetings start at 11:30 today. My family and I have been a member of this congregation since 2004, and I am so grateful for the impact it has had on me over the years. And I'm especially grateful for the impact it has had on my children, helping them become the adults that they are today. So it's important to me that I support the ministries of this congregation for this generation and for generations to come. If you would like to support the ministries of this congregation, you can go to orlandouu.org and click the donate button. Or you can donate by text, or you can send a check to the church. It is so great that we can gather together this morning. Now let us gather together in song. Aubrey?
Our opening hymn this morning is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning, all. I'm Samuel Shaw, Transition Minister of First Unitarian Church of Orlando. We're so happy this morning to have in our pulpit the Reverend Kierstin Homblette Allen, our affiliate minister. Reverend Kierstin's ministry with us is actually a national ministry working with our churches around our nation on issues of racism, anti-oppression, and dismantlement of white supremacy. She's about to give us a thrilling message on what it means to be a truly inclusive church. So please stay tuned for that. I'm here this morning to light our chalice in our churches. We light a chalice before each worship service to set aside this time as sacred time. So please join with me as we say our familiar words. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Kierstin Homblette Allen, your affiliated minister here at First Unitarian Church of Orlando. Reverend Sam asked me to lead worship with you this morning, and I'm so grateful and honored to have the chance to do that. Our service this morning focuses on our congregation's commitment to radical welcome and inclusion. This is at the front of my mind these days as I'm serving on a small task force charged by our Board of Trustees to make recommendations about increasing accessibility of our restrooms in the sanctuary. I'm excited by that charge and the opportunity to renovate our physical space to be in alignment with our Unitarian Universalist values of acceptance, justice, and interconnectedness. And we know that radical welcome is about so much more than just a building, especially in these pandemic times when we find ourselves creating a welcoming space right here without any physical space at all. So let me begin this morning by welcoming you. By welcoming you just as you are, no matter how you are joining us here this morning. I'm so glad we can be together. Our call to worship today is by the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. I'm going to invite us to try this as a responsive call to worship. So when I raise my hand like this, I'll invite you to join me in saying, "You are beloved and you are welcome here." And as you say those words each time, I want you to imagine the face of someone you miss from our congregation, or perhaps someone in your life who you haven't seen a long time and would love to welcome into your space. Just as a reminder, we're going to say together, "You are beloved and you are welcome here." All right, let's try it together. You are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this week or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced beyond the edge of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, come, let us worship together. So if we were all together in person, which I very much miss, at this point I would say something like, "Would all the young folks and people young at heart come down and join me in the front of the sanctuary?" This is a practice that we've had for a long time to help our youngest community members be able to see if we're reading a story or be able to hear the person who's talking to them clearly. This is one thing that we do in our building to make sure that everyone feels comfortable and can access what we're doing easily. So I wanted to start this story time, even though we can't all sit down in the front together, by imagining, if you can, our sanctuary. Or if you've been joining us online and you've never been to our physical sanctuary, I would invite you to imagine another church or religious community that you're familiar with. It's been a long time since we've been in that space. So can you think about it? There are big glass doors and windows. There are long wooden pews with green cushions. There's a beautiful gray stone floor. There's a window on one side made of colorful stained glass that shows our chalice. One thing that's important about our sanctuary space, or about any space where a community gathers, is that the people who come to that space can feel comfortable and safe there and participate fully in whatever is happening. So I want to ask us to take a minute to think about what are some of the things in our sanctuary or in the building that make it a place where lots of different people with different needs can feel comfortable and included. If you think of an idea and you want to write it in the chat on Facebook or Zoom, please feel free to do so other people can hear your ideas. I'm guessing maybe someone is thinking about microphones. We use microphones if we speak in the sanctuary so that everyone can hear what's being said. I'm wondering if anyone is thinking about how some of our pews are shorter than other pews so that people who use wheelchairs can sit next to people who are sitting in pews. I wonder if anyone is thinking about our wiggle room. where you can take a grumpy baby or a loud kid or yourself into a space where noise can be made and you don't interrupt the service and you can still hear and see what's going on in the sanctuary. There are a lot of things in our sanctuary building that show welcome to our community by making our space more comfortable and accessible for people with different needs. I'm also thinking about another part of our sanctuary building where people have different needs: the bathrooms. You were thinking about that too, right? We all have different needs when it comes to using the bathroom, but everyone needs to use the bathroom. And we want to be a place where everyone can do that comfortably and safely. So I chose a story this morning that I thought would help us think through this a little bit more. For those of you who have been in any proximity to potty training children, I'm guessing you'll know this book. It's called Everyone Poops. And I've been reading this book a lot with my 2-year-old who's doing a great job with potty training, but I think it's an important reminder for all of us. So let's check out this story together. Everyone Poops by Taro Gomi. An elephant makes a big poop. A mouse makes a tiny poop. A 1-hump camel makes a 1-hump poop. A 2-hump camel makes a 2-hump poop. Only kidding. Fish poop, and so do birds, and bugs too. Different animals make different kinds of poop. Different shapes, different colors, even different smells. Which end is the snake's behind? What does whale poop look like? Some stop to poop, others do it on the move. Some poop here and there. Others do it in a special place. Grown-ups poop. Children poop too. While some children poop on the potty, others poop in their diapers. And I'll just add here to say, some people need a bar near the toilet to help them use it. Other people need a place to change a baby. Some people need to be in the bathroom with someone who can assist them. And others need to use a bathroom that isn't for men or for women. Some animals poop and pay no attention. Others clean up after themselves. These poop by the water, and this one does it in the water. This kid wipes themselves with paper and then flushes it down the toilet. All living things eat, so everyone poops. And everyone poops, so everyone needs a bathroom that meets their needs, even and especially in their religious home. Together, we can build a space that welcomes everyone in all of our glorious diversity.
Our centering hymn this morning is Building a New Way, number 1017 in the Teal Hymnal. We are building Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
We come together in community so that we may know we are not alone. Together we can offer hope in times of sorrow, celebration in times of joy, and always a reminder of the greater love that holds us all and will never let us go. At this time in our service, we share the joys and sorrows made known by members of our community so that we may celebrate and mourn together. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you'd like to share with the community in a future worship service, you could email joysandconcerns@orlandouu.org. These are the joys and sorrows we share today. Victoria, our building renovation contractor, who has worked with us through the remodeling of Gore Hall and the Enrichment Center, reports that her stage 4 cancer tumors have shrunk from recent treatment. She sends thanks for all the good wishes received from 1U members. With the threat of coronavirus, so many of us are home more. This last week, Olivia took beautiful homemade cupcakes to a list of 1U members to brighten each person's day. We thank Olivia for treating others with this thoughtful and sweet gesture. We are sending healing energies for Kat's cousin Melody and her husband Kyle. Their 2-month-old son Robert is scheduled to have heart surgery soon. And in these difficult days, as the number of COVID-19 infections in our state soars, we remember all of those who are helping others and all of those who need help. Those among us and those in our communities who are essential workers. Those among us and those in our communities who are forced to return to work before they feel safe and sufficiently protected. Those who take risks so that others may stay home. We remember those who are overwhelmed, juggling full-time childcare and full-time work. We remember those who are isolated, lonely, and vulnerable. We remember those for whom home is not a safe place to be. And we remember those for whom the world is not a safe place, even before a global pandemic. This week in particular, I want to lift up and pray for Black transgender people, our siblings, who are murdered in this country and around the world at a horrifying rate. I especially want to name Tony McDade, a Black trans man who was killed by police officers in Tallahassee at the end of May, and whose death has not received anywhere near the level of coverage and outrage as we have seen for other such murders. We offer gratitude for Tony's life and spirit and commit ourselves to working to build a world where all Black lives matter. And finally, as always, we also take a moment to honor all of the joys and sorrows, small and large, held in silence in our hearts this morning. Now we've reached the time in our service to settle in more deeply, to take a couple of big breaths. Perhaps roll your shoulders, rest your feet on the floor. You could close your eyes. Join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Our prayer this morning is by Jessica York. This is not a prayer that you may find hope, for hope is a luxury that some cannot find and others cannot afford. This is not a prayer that you find more love in the world, though I hope you continue to feel love and send love to those near and far. I pray instead that you may find tools, a hammer lying half hidden in the grass, a roll of duct tape curled up and forgotten on a high shelf in the back of the closet, a wrench poking out the back pocket of a stranger. Take these tools and gird thyself, a hammer for justice, duct tape to hold together your broken heart, a wrench to grip and provide advantage in applying torque to turn objects or to turn the world. Take these tools and others you may find in places expected and unexpected. Take these tools and gird thyself, for weeping may last through the night, but work begins in the morning. As we enter into a time of shared silence, I invite you to name aloud or in the chat the names of those people you want to remember, honor, or pray for in our communion of names. Either use the Facebook comment section or the Zoom chat box, depending on how you are viewing this service. If you are on Zoom, please make sure your chat is directed to all participants, not just to the panelists, that is our worship team. We name the names of our beloveds. Blessed are these names, those shared here and those that continue to resonate in our hearts. Amen. Our anthem this morning is This Is Me, sung by Kiana Settle and the ensemble cast from the film The Greatest Showman. The video accompanying it was created by the artist Queen of Cryptids. June may be over, but it's always time for pride.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown a mind. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
So I will admit that I have watched that video a bunch of times this week as I prepared to lead worship for you. It's so raw and empowering and beautiful. Look out, because here I come. I'm marching to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. No wonder this song was a huge hit at Pride last summer. LGBTQ folks know a thing or two about having to fight to be who we are, and about the incredible feeling of freedom and joy that comes when you find a community where you can bring the fullness of yourself, brave and bruised, glorious. I'm guessing many of us know that feeling for lots of different reasons. We long to be part of a community where we can be our full, complex, whole selves, where we can say, this is me. I deserve love, and I know that I belong. We long for communities of radical welcome and inclusion. Our beloved faith community, this church, and our larger Unitarian Universalist movement strive to be welcoming. It's at the core of our theology, a universalist affirmation that all people are inherently good and worthy of love. We succeed in this welcome in many ways. And we have work to do, always, to continue to widen the circle of that love and inclusion. Radical welcome requires our unceasing attention and vigilance. It requires always asking ourselves, who is not here among us and why? And what are we missing out for their lack of presence here? We also ask ourselves, am I able to be fully myself here? And why or why not? Welcoming is a process, an active verb, not an achieved status. The work of welcome making is never complete. This congregation, First Unitarian Church of Orlando, was officially designated a welcoming congregation many years ago, meaning that we completed an intensive process of learning and policy change and voting as a congregation to say that we are officially welcoming to lesbians and gay folks. But in the years since that designation, our Unitarian Universalist Association has released a subsequent program called Living the Welcoming Congregation. It recognizes that the work of welcoming is something we live into, not something we can claim as a title for all time. What being welcoming looked like then is different from what being welcoming looks like now. Like our wider world, what it means to be welcoming has morphed and changed. It's okay that we cannot always know or anticipate how we can expand our welcome even further. If we personally already feel welcome in a space or a community, we may need to rely on others to help us understand what it means, what needs to change in order for others to feel welcome among us. But once we know that there is a need to be met, an adjustment to be made, or a huge shift that has to happen, then we must be prepared to learn and act and work to expand the circle again. We talked in our story earlier about some of the things this community has done in the past to make the physical space of our sanctuary more welcoming. to make it more comfortable, more accessible, safe for people with a variety of needs. And now our Board of Trustees is working through another shift in our space to take advantage of already planned renovations to our existing sanctuary to make all of the restrooms in the sanctuary all user restrooms. By that, we mean restrooms that can be used by any person regardless of their gender. These are sometimes also called gender-neutral restrooms, all-gender restrooms, or quite simply restrooms, with a sign that might indicate which specific restroom equipment is contained within. There are people among us in this congregation and in our community, perhaps you, who do not identify as men or women. There are people among us in this congregation and in our community, perhaps you, who do identify as men or women, but have been subjugated to verbal and physical assault for using the bathroom that is labeled for their gender because their physical appearance does not match others' expectations. When we only have binary gender bathrooms, men's and women's, available in our sanctuary, we are telling these beloved folks, perhaps we are telling you, that we do not see those needs and we do not prioritize safety and comfort in our space. Creating all user restrooms in our sanctuary is a physical change we can make to our space that honors our spiritual and religious commitments to dignity, accessibility, and justice. Making this shift is a statement about our values and also about who we want to be a part of our community. How we design our building tells a story about who we are and what we care most about. Creating a physical space that welcomes and works for everyone is also an embodied practice. It acknowledges that we are all beings with bodies, beautiful, fragile, broken, and strong, that have many different needs and ways of moving through the world. It affirms that we can practice an embodied faith where we can bring our whole, true, full selves into our physical and spiritual space without apology. Everyone deserves to have a comfortable, safe place to pee or do any number of other things that we need to do in restrooms. But this physical change to our space, initially intended to be welcoming in one specific way around gender, will end up also making our restrooms even more accessible in other ways. It's amazing. It's like one possibility created so many more possibilities. Have you ever heard of the concept of universal design? It means that an environment is designed so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people. An environment should be designed to meet the needs of all of the people who wish to use it. This is not a special requirement for the benefit of only a minority of the population. It's a fundamental condition of good design. If an environment is accessible, usable, convenient, and a pleasure to use, everyone benefits. A good example of universal design are those cuts that are put into sidewalks so that people in wheelchairs can roll across the street and back up onto the sidewalk. But sidewalk cuts also benefit so many other users: kids on bikes, people pushing strollers, dogs with short legs. In our bathroom redesign, opening up the space to create a single stall gender-neutral bathroom also means that each of those stalls can be ADA compliant and accessible. All of our restrooms can have changing tables. They can all have enough space inside for more than one person, so families or people who need assistance in the bathroom can go in together. truly bathrooms for all users. It's a welcoming win, 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 win. I hope you'll join us in the upcoming Zoom calls with the board to learn more about these plans. The first one will happen this morning at 11:30, and there's information about that in your weekly e-blast. The principles of universal design apply, of course, not only to our physical space, our physical environment, but also to our faith tradition itself, our spiritual environment. Unitarian Universalism is a creedless faith. We have no required statement of belief, and we know we don't need to share the same theology in order to be in community together. The design of this faith tradition is welcoming to atheists, who so often do not have access to religious community. But because we are creedless, this means this is also a place that is welcoming to theists and pantheists and panentheists and agnostics all at the same time. It's a place where people who hold multiple religious identities can be welcome. It's a place where couples and families who do not share a faith tradition can attend the same congregation. It's a welcoming win, 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 win. We know, of course, that building all-user bathrooms in our sanctuary will not mean that we are done with the work of expanding our radical welcome. It is not enough to make sure that people are physically comfortable in our space. Sure, they can pee in peace or use a changing table or safely maneuver their wheelchair. But to be truly welcome, people also need to be able to bring their full selves, their gifts, their brokenness, their beauty, their pain, their wisdom, their challenges. They need to be able to communicate their truth and have it honored. We all need to be willing to keep shifting, keep expanding, keep pushing outward, and keep bringing the edges into the center. Surface level changes and physical accessibility are a good start, but they are not the end goal. We have to be willing to be transformed as individuals and as a community in the process of creating radical welcome. We will emerge on the other side of that transformation a different community. The Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams, a writer, activist, and Zen priest, reminds us of this lesson from nature. In their youth, caterpillars do nothing but consume everything they can. Their voracious appetites cause them to shed their skin repeatedly, but they just end up bigger, stronger, faster caterpillars. That's change. In order to complete the metamorphosis into butterflies, caterpillars must create and enter the darkness of the chrysalis, where they break down into a kind of genetic goop. Both special cells, unsurprisingly called formative cells, direct the actual process of becoming a butterfly. Both the seed and the evolutionary inclination to transform exists within. Before that happens, though, caterpillars must literally experience partial death and a destruction of their current form as they know it. That's transformation. Like majestic monarchs, if we really intend to achieve the beauty, power, and freedom that is our birthright as a movement of people that seek justice for all, we need to go beyond or transcend our current form as we know it. We are called by our theology, by our belief in the power of welcome, by the spirit of love, to continue to transform our church, physically and spiritually, into a radically inclusive community, where we can each say, "This is me," and know without a doubt that we are welcome here. Let's do it together.
Our closing hymn today is in the Teal hymnal, number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing, 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 Spirit says sing. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout, 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 Spirit says shout. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do.
As we conclude worship, we extinguish our chalice. Please say with me our familiar words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As always, my friends, remember, we haven't just been to church, we are the church. And when the church is the church, it is nothing more, nothing less, or nothing other than a place in the world for all, a place of open-hearted, generous welcome and inclusion. This week, as you go to your activities, in all ways, be a generous heart and be the church. Go with grace. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Giving life the shape of justice.